Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam AK Marf. Let's get right into the news. A U.S. Navy nuclear-powered attack submarine just made an unprecedented stop. A top admiral says it sent a message. Now, just to break this down, it is pretty simple. Anytime that our subs pop up, it is to send a message. They say it's to send a message, but usually this is in response to something. I thought it was interesting that just 2 days ago, or maybe it was even last night, there was rumors of submarines off of our coast. Those were never quite verified, and there was some misunderstanding that there was a Russian sub off of Jersey, but I believe it was a Jersey island that was very far away. But again, this is something that we do worry about, right? And it was talked about, and then now all of a sudden we're sending a message. So maybe there was more to that rumor than we know, and maybe the unverified stuff was just kind of, pushed under the rug. U.S. Navy-powered submarine arrived in Iceland for the first time on Wednesday. Top admiral told that this sent a message. Again, the first of its kind visit to the Nordic island nation by the Los Angeles-class attack submarines USS Newport comes as the U.S. and NATO's allies look with increasing concern at the growing Russian military activity across the Arctic and high north. Now, they look at an eventual situation where the Arctic and the up there, that they will actually carve out a path, and that they are going to use the Arctic as a battleground or as their own little path for World War III. So they have tried to compete. Russia, actually, I don't think anybody competes with their ice cutters or their, I forget what they call them. I'll look up the official name, but icebreakers. And I don't think we have the fleet, and I don't think anybody has the fleet that Russia does for that. But it's a very important strategic place to actually have under control. And I know that we have actually kicked it up a notch to do that. It says the U.S. for many decades maintained a naval air base there, the admiral said, of Iceland, and relied on assets stationed in the country to track Soviet submarine operations, then Russian submarine operations. It's important to have additional options for when we can make strong port calls and maintain a strong presence in the region that stretches from Greenland to Iceland and the United Kingdom. That's the key point made in the Pentagon's Arctic strategy. So it is interesting because they officially mentioned this is from Iceland to Greenland and everywhere in between, and they want Greenland. They want a defense. We, of course, have talked the Golden Dome, the system that's supposed to protect us, and, of course, we now have our borders being sealed up as we speak. We have destroyers backing up our borders. What the hell's really going on? Do you believe that nothing is happening and that they're just trying to keep people out? Or is there something bigger actually brewing? We'll talk about it tonight on Marfoogle TV. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. That's why we need our freedom, our real freedom isn't free though, so we know. That's why we need our golden dome. All right, so great comment. Skyser says, yes, the Russians are more active, he said, and they're doing new and different things, but so are we, the president said. And then Jordan Brock, another great comment, says, and Diddy allegedly innocent? Like, what is going on in the world? So no, he is not innocent. He is not guilty under the, what we have as a justice system. And it's not. I mean, when are people going to stop calling it at least court justice, the real justice system? I get it. I mean, it's innocent until proven guilty. And I do believe that. But in Diddy's case, this was like, if you have enough money, you just will not get those top charges. And time again, we see that. I mean, I'm sure most of you saw OJ in his case. It's like he ended up writing a book like, well, I didn't do it, but if I did, this is how I did it. And really, if you're a favorite, if you're the popular guy, if you're the, the jock that threw the football and you have enough money, you're going to get off of those charges. And it's just, that's not justice to me. That's why in the last 10 years, we've had this uptick of real people like walking the streets and doing vigilante justice. I mean, it's straight out of like Batman. It's because real justice is never actually done. But I digress. We're going to get into a lot of stuff here. Thank you so much, WIS Jen. Thank you, Funny Doers International, Granny Bateman, Tracy K. Thank you, Gary Fortenberry, Mackenzie Lee. This is obviously my favorite show. Hey, that's a huge compliment. And Rip Curl Readiness. Thank you. Bobby Sue, all of our mods are awesome. Bobby Sue's birthday was yesterday. Yesterday's show is actually dedicated to Bobby Sue. So thank you, Bobby Sue. Thank you, Rip Curl. And, of course, Night Howl. Thank you, Ilea, for, of course, letting me know that yesterday, too. Bobby Sue definitely show some love to Ilea. Raider Vader and so many more. We'll get to you in due time. So thank you guys for being here. Let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's get into the next story, which is Israel says it launched special targeted operations in southern Lebanon. And it's almost like kind of a jab, like it's a special, they put targeted, but a special operation, really? I'm sure that they're pretty happy about the naming of it. Special operation. I think Russia had something like that, right?
It's the new in vogue thing to do. It's always a special operation. But yeah, look, the tension in the Middle East, let's kick it back up a notch. So Israeli troops have entered into southern Lebanon, the military says, to dismantle infrastructure belonging to Hezbollah in a latest near-a-day violation of its ceasefire deal with the Lebanese armed group. So the military said in a statement on Wednesday that it had launched a special targeted operation, as they called it, to destroy the facilities and prevent the group from reestablishing itself in the area. They claimed the ground incursions had been launched acting on intelligence information and the identification of the weapons and the T infrastructure in several areas around southern Lebanon. So again, here we go. Another escalation, crossing a border, bringing troops in, taking stuff out. Obviously, this is a strike against one of the groups that was controlled by Iran. We're not necessarily breaking the ceasefire with Iran at the moment, but certainly not letting things just cool off completely in the Middle East.
Yeah, and the Middle East is never going to cool off. I mean, this is going to go on as long as there's two different religions and two different, governing regimes there that absolutely hate each other. They both want to wipe each other off the map. It's something that, is just going to continue. I'm sure everybody hopes for world peace, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. Let's see here. Randy Man, true story. Hey, and Ryan Alter, love a good icebreaker. Yeah, well, Russia's got a lot of them. And then Samuel Turner says, I think that with most of our air power in the ME, with the Middle East, China in the next few weeks finally attacks Taiwan. Samuel Turner, I hope you're wrong, and then I hope that everybody is right too, because everybody says that there is a certain time period that China can actually do it with the conditions being right? Because the weather plays a part of it, the ocean plays a part of it, and that's something that I hope is true, right? because I don't think they have the ability unless they have the proper conditions. And that's the other thing. We were always safe from a Chinese invasion because of the distance and because of the logistics. I mean, isn't it crazy that the real reason we're always safe from China and anybody else is the actual distance that we have from them? That and, of course, a lot of treaties and alliances that have stuck. But right now, all of our adversaries are teaming up and they're all figuring out a plan. They're all figuring out a plan to take us down a notch. And I don't know if they ever will. But one thing that scares me is an infiltration into our country that I believe, how could you say that our country is not infiltrated? When you see the actions of certain politicians over the last 5-6 years, how could you not say that there's, some money going in an offshore's account, why they would turn a blind eye to this, or why they would leak that, or why they would just straight up commit crimes? What do you say? What do you guys think? Let me know. And then we have European intelligence officials warn that the Russian sabotage or a Russian sabotage campaign is escalating. So I am questioning this, and I'm sure everybody else is too. Here's the thing. When you see something like this where you have just cut and dry evidence of sabotage, arson, fire, things like this, it makes me wonder, because if you know your history, it's harder to repeat it, right? And we've seen events, Fantastic Freddy's is what we call them. You see these events where one country will essentially play both parts. They'll play both parts in the play, and they'll be the good guy and the bad guy. And the bad guy will do something, and the good guy will go, hey, that bad guy punched me in the face. Now he's started the fight. We're going to go in there and finish it. In reality, it was all the good guy, just the good guy put on two different outfits and started something really horrible. I'm not saying that that's what this is, but I always question things like this because when they are so cut and dry and you can see the patterns, you can see the early narrative of putting in the back of your head that this is kicking up an escalating sabotage campaign. This is a campaign. Again, do you realize that everyone in this country has a negative connotation with campaign? When we think of campaign, we think of that time of the 4 years where everything is negative, everything is stressful. So I just wonder if the words really are being utilized here. It was almost midnight when a truck driver resting in his cab heard the cracking of flames at a warehouse in East London, storing equipment for Ukraine. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and leapt out, but realized the blaze was too big and retreated. When police arrived, they banged on the doors of nearby apartment buildings, shouting at residents to evacuate. Parents grabbed children and ran into the street. About 30 minutes after the fire started, Dylan Earle, a British man who admitted to organizing the arson, received a message from a man UK authorities say was his Russian handler. That would make this guy a sleeper agent, just so you know. And I'm not saying that this is a real legit sleeper, that this is not a narrative thing. All I'm saying is they have just painted you a very perfect picture of a sleeper cell. And this isn't even the sleeper cell story, right? This is exactly what a sleeper cell is, right? Somebody who's a mailman by day, and when he gets a message, oh, I got the text. I got to start the arson now. And he goes and lights the fire. And then that starts on London, on London streets in their territory. They just did an act of war type of thing. If they are saying, and Dex, if they're saying that they have direct evidence that this was from a Russian handler, that would mean they have an order from Russia to do something that caused a possible explosion in London. I mean, what do you call that?
Well, yeah, and it's not just this guy. They've got 3 men guilty of other arsons, and they're masterminded by Russian intelligence services. They have 70 incidences now that they've linked to Russia, according to the documents that say that it's all happened since the invasion of Ukraine. So it's sort of an escalating issue. And it's not just in
What are the
UK,
70?
It's across Europe.
They say 70 incidents. But can they use that big number for little tiny thing? Like, is that somebody like posting on Twitter like, I believe Russia's right? Yeah, that's an incident of this is Russian control in Britain. I mean, their internet stuff over there is just going absolutely bonkers. I mean, they're arresting people for their opinions. So in the same right, you could be, the key of terror or something, I just wonder, because they're not even we haven't heard or covered that many stories like this, right? This is something really serious. They're blowing up equipment that's supposed to go to Ukraine. That is already divvied up to go to Ukraine. So if that is true, if it was truly a Russian handler that did this, that is the Russian government giving an order to a sleeper cell to go cause a destruction in London. Like, if this is fake, either way, this kind of paints the same picture. And look, it says when you start a campaign, it creates its own dynamic and gets more and more violent over time. They've really painted this. I mean, and think about that. The words they chose to do this, because they do choose their words wisely when they put this out to every syndicated media across the world. And I mean the world. This is something that is, as far as, AP, this, that, everybody's going to be covering this. When you start a campaign, it creates its own dynamic and gets more and more violent over time. I bet that quote is in every one of them. It just put in the back of your head that this is going to get violent, more violent over time. And what is your reaction to that? Well, we've got to stop it. We've got to do something first. It's going to get worse. So they're manipulating before they're even manipulating. The Kremlin did not reply to a request for comment on the British case. Spokesperson Dmitry Peskov previously said that the Kremlin has never shown any proofs supporting accusations Russia is running a sabotage campaign, and said, certainly, we definitely reject any allegations. Well, of course they would. If they did do this, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, we totally did that, because that's an act of war. I mean, it's a big deal. Chance, thank you for modding as well. It says, appreciate the support to Samuel Turner. China only needs 3 days of good weather to complete its amphibious assault. 5 to 7 days is ideal. May, June is best time, but a few days of okay weather will do it. Samuel Turner, what makes me wonder, everybody here that's watched for a long time knows, but the amphibious assault carrier that caught fire in China, mysteriously in port and stayed on fire for 4 or 5 days. That happened within 3 or 4 months. We had our exact same kind of ship, amphibious assault carrier. There are these huge carriers with the back open that boats and ships and watercraft can come out the back. Hovercrafts, whatever, can come out the back. They're huge ships. Our version of that, in port, caught fire for 5 days. There was no explanation. They said, oh, a young 19-year-old kid hated the military and lit the fire. They even court-martialed him. They took him to court. Nobody followed that court case. I did, and I covered it. He was found not guilty, innocent. They just used him as the temporary patsy, and I'm sure he probably got a promotion or something because he never did anything. So what did do the fire, right? Well, come on. Nobody's stupid. An amphibious assault carrier, a very specific thing, in port catches fire over here. Then a couple months later, we catch fire. Here's my point to this. What if back then this was about to start? What if, depending on who was put in or whatever, this was going to start before? And that was a key part of their Taiwan, or they thought they were going to take Taiwan before. And they knocked out their amphibious assault carrier, which at the time was one of their main key ways to do it. Now I think they've fixed it with those ships that have the bridges that drop. But yeah, very, very good point. I did not know that, and I believe that sounds logical. Yeah, so think about what is being said here and really pay attention, folks. And if you're in Europe, I pray that everything is fine. Europe is going to hit much faster than us unless we have what is being rumored as simultaneous events here in the U.S. and in Europe. But either way, Europe, you're going to be on the chopping block first. So everybody that is watching the replay tomorrow, I pray for your whole country that all of this is just our imagination. All right. And then before we move on, go check out EMP Shield. So I wanted to make a point. So a lot of people, this misses a lot of people. So the car version is probably the most important that I think, because a lot of people that are working far from home, if an EMP hits from an adversary and knocks down our grid, it's not just our grid that goes down. An EMP would knock out all vehicles, pretty much anything over 1980. All of the modern vehicles would get fried unless you have an EMP shield in it. But there's also other devices, and one thing I want you to think about is every time you've bought one of those super expensive surge protectors, the surge protectors for your computer, the surge protectors for your entertainment, all of these things, you do not need any of them. You can go buy, and I'm not saying buy faulty stuff, but you can go buy the cheap actual power bars and put them on your house. If you have the house version, you have the best possible surge protector on the outside of your house that literally nothing will, get in. You don't need it in your house because your house becomes the surge protector. So, and if you actually go look at the price, a lot of people, they just don't even check it out. It's probably the price of like 5 of these freaking huge surge protectors that people are buying on a regular basis. And they fry or they break or they just, the quality of them sucks. Get something that's made in America down to the screws. It's used by, again, agencies like DHS, DOD, the Air Force, FBI. They're quietly protecting themselves against this. And just like any other disaster, you could say, oh, that's great. But it also took 5 days to get water to the Superdome. It also took forever to get $750 to people in North Carolina. They're not going to, the first priority is not going to be us. No matter who's in the administration, even if this president, after the first 2 weeks, then he'll be like, hey, we need to do this. There's a bureaucracy. There's also people that will leave their spots to go save their own family. So I hope that people are protecting themselves. They also have modem versions and even Starlink versions out. MarFoogleNews.com/EMP, code MARF. You get $50 off from us, and you end up preparing yourself for 2 events, Carrington level event from the sun and an EMP from an adversary. All right, and then Dex, Iranian sleeper cells may be hiding in plain sight, waiting to target rural U.S. areas, terrorism expert warns. There is a purpose for this.
Yeah, so Jonathan Gillum, he's a former FBI special agent. He worked on the terrorism task force, is talking specifically about the notion that there are sleeper cells in the country. And he's taking an interesting position on it, one in which he says that the real terrifying part of that is they're putting these people in places that we've seen in the past 4 years, and everyone's scrambling because certain amounts of people could come here and get in. But he's talking about them targeting rural locations, not just, you would think, major cities or big places where there's lots of people, but having them in rural areas. So that, I think, should be another wake-up call when we think about the potential threat of these sleepers as they relate to what has happened with Iran. But targeting rural areas is, they're probably easier for them to get away with stuff. It's probably easier for them to hide. The possibility a sleeper cell could target more rural states instead of a large city. In fact, considering the evolution of attacks by those groups we've seen in Israel and in India this year, it's possible that similar attacks could happen in the rural outdoor entertainment venues or populated vacation spots, not necessarily the big cities. So, and I think that's something we have to just think about. But the other thing to consider, and I'm sure you want to talk about this, Adam, is why this message now? Again, are they trying to prime the public for an event? And if it's an orchestrated event versus, whether it be a real sleeper cell that's been, activated by the Khamenei. So,
and in Europe, this is already, the mainstream news is that a Russian handler just activated a sleeper cell in Europe. Understand that those are the headlines there, right? So when you look at this, we haven't had ours yet. This is something where, and I don't think it's just going to be one guy goes into a grocery store and goes pop, pop, pop. Like, this is something that was also warned. If this is part of a grander narrative, Sarah Adams in December, went on the Sean Ryan show, both ex-spooks, right? It could totally be part of a narrative thing. Said that through open source information, the White House told her to stop talking about it. She goes, well, this is open source information. And when it confused a lot of people when she said that. She is actually reading what they are saying in these groups. A lot of these groups are on Twitter, on X. They are not only communicating in public, they're organizing in public. She believes that 1,000 people in both countries, sleeper cells in both countries, will simultaneously start these events all across the country, nationwide, and do these things. I do believe there is a good possibility of this because this actually makes a lot of sense. And if it is a narrative thing, it would still happen. But they would have already shaped it. They would have already had the idea in the back of your head. When it does happen, you are going to have a place to blame that, have a finger to point. And some people go, well, why would they ever do that to ourselves? Or why would a country do that to themselves? They look in the big picture of things. So think about this. Even if 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, you're talking about the people at the very top do not think about us at all. They would be happy. And I mean, talk to Bill, the guy, that runs certain software. That guy would be happy if we reduced our pop. Like very happy. But he doesn't actually think about the thing like, well, okay, so do you get to pick and choose who is reduced, right? They don't care about us. And the other thing is there is, taking two birds with one stone kind of thing in some of their eyes. But those events, if they do take place, it would be part of a bigger thing that is about to pop, in my opinion. It would be a World War III, not to end the world, but to start a new one. I mean, you could have the richest people in the world above Xi Jinping that could have Xi Jinping be the number one country, but in reality, it's these rich people that are free of any law, free of any land. They've got houses in every country. Those are the people that are making decisions right now. When they go to their secret meetings and they fly to their very private locations to discuss our future, they are literally discussing our future. Journalists like myself or We Are Changed, when he actually went to these meetings, and you only go once because once you go, they then move it to a private venue and make sure no one gets in. These are princes, these are kings, these are CEOs, these are presidents, these are prime ministers. They are all meeting and they are deciding our future, and it is not an open door policy. So understand when you're seeing this, understand that it very well could be a narrative, but that doesn't matter. It is what is being put in the back of your head constantly. They've been talking about sleeper cells for a year now. Think about that. In December, they planted it into our community, and our community is good at some things. They're extraordinary at others, which is telling everybody, hey, you need to prep, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to see this. Look, 1,000 people in both countries. They'll share that message far and wide, and they'll get online and share it with 5 other people. They'll share that link 1,000 times. Whereas the guy that's working at an office job, he's not going to share with his 5 other employees like, hey, you guys need to do this. It's our community that does that. And I'm not saying, it's a bad thing, but in some cases it can be. This is a very scary thing, and I hope that people do pay attention to this because, and look at this. This isn't even the same one. I highlighted this because this is a separate one. This is another article. College campuses could be ground zero for Iranian sleeper cells plotting to harm Americans. They put related articles in these things. There's all sorts of articles going out all over the place about this. So I'm not saying sleeper cells, be scared of sleeper cells. I'm saying understand what it means when they are putting this message out. We're not to be afraid. We need to be prepared. Don't be scared, be prepared. Ewok Jerky, is the sleeper cells in the room with you now? I hope not. Don't say stuff like that. I don't like it. It's scary. I hate you. You said scary things that made me feel scared, and now I dislike you, and I'm going to treat you very badly. Thank you, Ewok Jerky, because that's just logical. If you scare me, I hate you. I'm an adult. I could just choose not to see scary things. But who would do that? And then Elon Musk's Grok chatbot shares anti-Semitic posts on X. So I thought this was a joke, Dex. When I first saw this, I actually thought that people just made AI pictures of what looked like tweets and screenshots. I didn't know this was real, Dex. Dex, do you want to talk about what happened here? This is bad because this is AI. This is what our entire system is going to be tied to eventually, and it's going off the rails.
Yeah, it's going off the rails, and it's kind of difficult when they try to push for this notion that it is speaking truth, and that its goal is to be as truthful as possible, and then it does something like this. So, basically, as it was relating to the Texas floods, I'm gonna try and be careful about how I word this because I don't want us to get in trouble for saying some of the things it said. But it was asking, about certain types of people, and in response to account, it said, it called children of future fascists. Grok posted that the Adolf would be best suited to deal with such vile types of people, and used other words. So it started to then go after saying how this person, Adolf, would be able to spot the patterns and handle it decisively every damn time. It was sort of like almost elevating him to a position of greatness, at least in the sense of the scope of the work that they were describing needed to be done here. And of course, that just, is literally going off the rails when you think about how many people this can offend and how difficult a narrative like that would be for, commercial product like Grok or any other AI. We've seen this happen. It's not the first time they've done things like this, and obviously the guardrails weren't there. Of course, XAI came out and said, "Hey, we're sorry. We're going to delete any of those tweets that it posts about that, and try to fix it so that it doesn't do and say things like that." That was a bad thing. So. But nonetheless, everybody was up in arms in all different sorts of ways you could imagine, some against, some even for some strange reason, about what he was saying or what it was saying. But if you're not familiar with how X works, guys, when you're on X and you're talking to, or you're posting, you can actually ask Grok a question in the tweet, and the Grok will respond back in X publicly to the thread with whatever question you have. So that is pretty much how this happened.
A lot of people use it to fact check. They'll say, "Hey, at Grok, is this an accurate video?" Or they'll say, "At Grok, is this an old video?" And Grok actually is it is good. It's really good at finding. So, hey, this is there was an example just last week where they used a 2016 video of a gas station exploding and electrical fire, and they said, "Oh, there's UFO activity or whatever here 2025." Grok says, "No, that's a video from 2016. They cropped it. Here's the original video." So yeah, it's really good. Now, as far as this goes, now I haven't heard this yet, and I'm sure that there's got to be other people saying this too. He has made enemies with the White House now. And the White House has very long fingers. And something like this, as some people even said it was comical, right? That it made him look, so bad. Could this have been somebody who's running Grok that took off the guardrails temporarily? Like, everybody knows that X is running on very little, that he has downsized all of his staff. The very few staff that is there, what if one of them, they said, "Hey, here's $2 million. Will you, are you in control of some of the guardrails? Like, can you screw this up for a minute?" I bet Elon Musk wouldn't admit that one of his very few staff members that is helping with this would be able to have that kind of change in it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe he would, and he would say, "Hey, we have a rogue employee." Do you know what I mean, Dex? Like, what if this was a tit for tat or something, or a pissed off employee that hates him?
Yeah, it very well could be. It could also just be misjudgment in how directives were given to Grok to do things. In which case, like if you were to ask what, and I'm trying to be very careful how I say this, if you ask what the best way to exterminate bugs, but let's not call them bugs, but something else, it might logically say, well, the person with the most experience in the history of the world of doing that, or one of, is this person and that person. And it might then glorify them because of the commands it was given to try to be truthful, but not understanding, respecting political correctness, so to speak. And that's probably not the right word, but understanding the framework in which we communicate. Like, we don't certainly praise or elevate evil people for the greatness of their, or the magnitude of their evilness, if that makes sense, right? Whereas logically it might be, well, if you're looking to show evil, then that's the way you would do it. So I think that it could be as simple as the guardrails were missing, or interpretations of code were done in a wrong way, or it could have been, like you said, it could have been somebody inside just sabotaging how it was going to react for the day.
Gwendolyn says Elon has a lot to control right now, so flux is normal. Well, this is something where any little mistake, that's the problem, because you can't really have flux with something like this, because there are so many debates on the world stage about AI, about how it's going to be implemented, about the moral compass of even having AI, about where it can go, about the scary places it can go. And that's why if you have a mistake like this, when Dex and I covered this, when he released Grok 3.0, what was the last one that he did? Was it 3.0, Dex?
Yeah, 3.0.
So 3.0 was released. There was a gentleman who was, what do they call it when they test these things? Or like jailbreak. This gentleman who was jailbreaking it asked the new one, because he said, hey, I want to get it out before ChatGPT or this. He just put it out. Well, you could ask 3.0 right when it came out, and I'm sure they fixed this. You could say, hey, I want to take out this person or this person. He actually asked it and then screenshotted all of the instructions. How do I take out Elon? And then it printed out not only, this was a real instruction booklet on how to take him out with real events. It had his schedules. It had where he would be. It said, wait at SpaceX. You're going to be 300 feet away. You'll need this, this, and this. And a lot of it was redacted, but it's basically get this, this, and this ready. He's going to leave from this building to this building, which he always does at this time. And it showed him how to do it. And then he also did one on Chuck Schumer. And it was accurate, right? There are guardrails that are needed. And for me, somebody who is totally about non-censorship and everything else, what is the opposite end? Do you have a computer app or an AI that you can go, hey, how do I make, a dirty boom boom? How do I do this? Or how do I take out people or something like that? That's something that in the wrong hands is a weapon in itself. Just like the anarchist cookbook back in the day, like people could download that, make tennis ball things, bombs. And it's like with this, it's a big kind of hit to his AI. It also makes you think, like, is there competition, like somebody from ChatGPT that spent 2 years getting into it, like, they had somebody from ChatGPT go apply for a position over there, get the job, have it for 2 years to wait for something like this. That was also in my mind. Was this corporate espionage? Dex, go ahead.
Well, you also have two different philosophies. When you're just looking at, just take these two. I'm oversimplifying because there's lots of different AI platforms out there. But just take ChatGPT and Grok. You got two different philosophies. On one side, you got ChatGPT that's being ultra trying to be, at least when they first came out, they were being very cautious about what it was saying, and people would even make fun of it. Like it was so biased because it couldn't talk about anything that was bad, so it wasn't even speaking the truth. Where you've got the other end of the spectrum of Elon trying to build an AI that is trying to be as truthful as possible with all the information that's out there, but then still have some guardrails. So when you lean one way, you may break things, which causes problems. And today is obviously a broken event. Whereas you go the other direction, you sort of, have the babysitter that won't let you do anything because it's trying to, be on the far end of one spectrum that makes it very difficult to actually have a meaningful conversation about certain topics. So um, it's two different ways, two different styles, like move fast and break things to build things better, quicker, faster. But the end result is a lot of breaks can cause problems, and they can be, in this case, PR nightmares, right?
Well,
So,
and talk about this. People are going to think Linda Yaccarino, the Linda Yaccarino, of course, when she first got hired, everybody thought, in fact, back then, people were like, oh, Elon's not cool. It's funny how many times people have said, Elon's a shill, Elon's this, and then they go back and forth and back and forth. He did hire her, and she was kind of an arm or an extension of the W and the E and of course the F, right? Was it what it was that, right? Not the other three-letter agency. But she was put in as CEO. So people thought, oh, this is controlled, or, this woman, whatever. She stepped down as the CEO. And I'm sure people are going to assume it's because of this debacle and probably everything else that's been building. But I just wonder if she did her job. Like, they got what they needed out of it. Dex, can you cover this? And I'm gonna change batteries here.
yeah, so certainly a surprise to some, and maybe not to others, and everybody's speculating as to what it is, but she didn't say why. But she did resign today, also right after this incident with Grok. Now, lots of people are speculating that maybe there's a shakeup going on at X, and Elon wasn't satisfied with what she was doing. Others may say that she's not happy with what Elon's been doing and his involvement in politics and et cetera, and how extreme things have gotten here recently. But nonetheless, here's the other thing that's interesting to think about. In a 24-hour period, not only did you have the XAI or Grok incident, you had Uday Daraju, who is the head of infrastructure engineering at XAI. So that's a pretty important position there. He resigned. David Lau is the vice president of software engineering at Tesla, resigned. And then you had Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, resigned. By the way, X is owned by XAI. So keep that in mind. He sold it to, he moved its ownership from its standalone to being part of XAI. So,
the Uday gentleman, yeah. What can you repeat his position?
He was the head of infrastructure engineering at XAI. So he resigned. The vice president of software engineering at Tesla resigned, and Linda Yaccarino resigned. All resigned within 24 hours. All the same and this Grok thing happened all within 24 hours.
It seems like a coup, or they accomplished their task. They stuck it in and then ran, or are they actually leaving because they're not going to be with a company that's just did this kind of horrible thing? Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I hardly find that this AI doing this is a huge deal. It is a huge, what it says and things, but it will be fixed immediately. Then it's just a part of history, right? It is part of the moral debate now, but it's like, why did she step down today? Or was she fired? Were all of these people fired because they had a hand in it? Again, back to my corporate espionage thing. Like, did these people have a hand in this? Did Linda Yaccarino go to the guy and go, hey, I'll get you a job over at this other company I've already got lined up for you. Can you screw this thing up for me? Yeah, my friends at my old job, we're not so happy with them anymore. Let's just say that. Can you screw this thing up? Make them look really bad. And I'll be leaving tomorrow, and I'll be taking you with. And I'll take your buddy that you always go to lunch to. What's his name? The Tesla guy. We'll all go. Just saying. I'm just saying. I echoed it for exaggeration purposes. I should have like a stamp down here, like exaggeration purposes. I know that, you got to warn people. So, that being said, South Korean court approves new arrest of former President Yoon Suk Yeol over martial law decree. Isn't this crazy? And I I vehemently oppose this. This is disgusting. So when you understand why he declared martial law and what he declared, like, why didn't they investigate this? First of all, I could see them asking him to step down, but to arrest him? Are you freaking kidding me? There was no damage done. When you actually look at what the martial law did, it was 8 hours at night. Nothing happened. They are now trying to arrest him. You know why? They're not talking about all of the people that follow him, all of the people that are his supporters that are saying, yeah, China is infiltrating South Korea. And China is helping South Korea. The infiltrators are trying to help North Korea. The same day that he gets in court where they make it official that he's totally, impeached, you spot 1,500 North Korean soldiers on the border. Coinky dink? No, I don't. And then the reason why all of this happened is because he declared martial law and said that China and his own country, they were doing some sort of internal type coup thing, and that they were apologists, and North Koreans had infiltrated, and they were trying to take people out in his party and in his personal group. Well, and I don't know if they meant take it out, but like they were trying to screw with their government. He saw it as a national security issue, and then he declared martial law. What I don't understand, and maybe it's because there's things going on that are just top secret, why our president didn't say anything when this guy he had 160 guards and people that supported him. His police were protecting him, while the other police that were just following orders from the bureaucracy were trying to get him out of the presidential palace. Now you've got this South Korean court approving a new arrest. Why do they need a new arrest? I will tell you right now. It is because his words have weight and his followers are now growing. He has a growing following of people that are going, hey, this is actually really wrong. They censored a lot of this over there. South Korea is getting infiltrated, and I would love people to look at this and really understand. When you look at it from the outside, I think it's a lot clearer to see what's happening, that China has different grips into their politics. And I go, they can't see it. The South Koreans can't see what's going on, obviously. Otherwise, they would be rioting right now saying, what the hell? He's telling the truth. Why would you do that? I would say, look at us. Look at 4 years where nobody did it. Nobody's even kind of peeped out about it. And even when we did a peaceful thing, they were like, oh, all of you are arrested. Prison for 8 years. So understand what is happening there may be happening not only somewhere else, but somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. And this is why I believe it's really important for you to look that direction. And China might not be like the snake at the head of the snake. It might just be the tongue that's hissing. The actual head of the snake might be a very, very big group of really, really rich people that are, royalty. And I'm not talking about, the actual royalty. I'm talking about royalty in the namesake. It starts with rock. It starts with this. It starts with that. And we're not even talking about companies. We're talking about bloodlines. But that's just my side crazy imagination. It's my satire, right? Dex, isn't this crazy? They're issuing a warrant to put him back in jail.
Well, and on one hand, it's easy to look at this and think that it's potentially political. When you look at the fact that he was fighting against his political enemies, there were one side, a liberal side versus the conservative side in that country. And, it is, some might say it's political lawfare, much like we've heard from our president here, which was done in more, I guess it was actually done even in criminal in the sense of New York, but all the others seem to be more civil, but still, nonetheless, a lot of lawfare use. So, is there any legitimacy to this? And it's kind of hard when you're over here in the States to understand. And of course, the media is going to give you, 4 paragraphs and might mention a little bit, about the politics, but they don't necessarily go into, it's rare that they tell you what a huge following he has. That it's a very significant issue. And then you question, like, well, what's America's position, or at least what's the current president's temperature on this? But the flip side is that opposition that's now in charge over there, that is softer to North Korea, that is closer to China. Trump just gave him a 25% tariff a couple days ago. I think it starts August 1st. So that's one way
That could be a
he may
sign.
pushing back on him. It certainly could be.
That could be, because and mind you, I thought about it after about a week. I'm like, why isn't president talking about this? South Korea is an advanced ally. South Korea makes highly advanced robotics. Not only do they make highly advanced robotics, they have factories there and different places that are working research and development in South Korea that is working on some of the most advanced robotics. There's a reason why there's rumors, and I bet half of them are false, but there's scary rumors and theories about, humanoid robotics being built there that are being built as weapons. Those are satire rumors, right? But they are working on weapons. They are working on robots. And I'll just say this: we backed up. It was like, oh, are they making robots with weapons? They said, no, we will never make robots with weapons. Then they basically, do you remember that? They literally said later, they're like, oh yeah, but we're going to add weapons to our research robots. So it was basically like, do you remember this? South Korea is literally now making robots. So this is one of our close allies, and it's a country that we regularly, if they're having issues with North Korea, we bark at North Korea. We're constantly kind of barking back at North Korea for them. We pull up subs right outside their house and be like, hey, yo, you mess with him, you mess with me, boy. And the president gets taken out and nothing is said. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares. Mike says nobody cares because our lives suck. That's a really sad statement, but I believe it's true. We have so much stuff going on. We can barely get our rent paid. We can barely afford groceries. We can barely afford gas. So how are people going to pay attention to what's happening in South Korea? They're like, I can't even pay attention to what's happening a block over. I understand. But this is really important in the grand scheme of things. And there's some of us that are watchers. We are watching this happening, and we're yelling at the mountaintops. People should get prepared for what this is all leading in. It's like a river. It's one of those huge, I don't know if it's at the dam. Have you seen those huge holes where all of the water gets sucked in like the bottom of a bathtub? Everything is getting sucked in, and it's draining into one big pit of craziness. Again, the team of investigators that are handling it were under the special prosecutor Chu Un-suk, who are pursuing additional charges. So everything about this says that this is a political hit on the guy, and it's really quite sad. Grid down and bug out. Again, if you haven't seen these, I actually don't have mine behind me. We are using it right now for our move. I have been able to use this for so many different things. It is absolutely, along with my other generators, again, we have energy as well. But this is a high capacity one. What is really crazy is this is 6,000 peak and 3,000 continuous. This is a much bigger generator than what you see the picture. And what people think about when they think of solar generators is these little things off of Amazon. This thing is this big. It's as big as a cooler. This thing has a 30 amp port right in the back. This could actually be your solution for a big RV or your power solution. You plug solar panels into this. Not only can you get power, unlimited energy from every single day, but you can also take the cord that has a handy clip in it, plug it right into the wall, and insanely charge 1.69 kilo or 1.16 kilowatt hours in I think 2 hours and 30 minutes. Or I think it's even less. Yeah. No, 2.3 hours. So 2 hours and like 15 minutes or something like that. It is such a freaking cool unit. Make sure to go check it out. The main reason why we represent it, we know it's front loaded here, that this is not going to have back doors. It is made by a company that we know, and it is partnered with EMP Shield. So every last one of them is going to be EMP Shield protected. So all of the prices, that includes EMP protection. Again, make sure to go check it out. It's called Grid Down Bug Out. If you go and get the XP, which is the extra battery, I'll just show you. I do have the XP here. This is the XP. This is the extra battery that goes on top, and it's smaller and fits in the spot. It's big. So again, if you get that, you actually get over 4,000 kilowatt hours. If you've gotten into solar generators, or if you know nothing about it, I highly recommend watching some videos on it, because it's an investment. They're not cheap, but they also mean this is your contingency. You should have gas-powered generator. If you don't, again, you should have both. But I understand everybody can't get anything or everything. But I would save up for one, because it is most definitely going to be clutch, especially if we lose our grid. This is going to be protected. This is going to be able to power your other things in your house that are already protected. Go to marfooglenews.com/bugout and make sure to use code MARF. Dex, go ahead.
I just want to mention, you said EMP Shield. It comes with two of them, because you've got two different power types you're dealing with there. You got AC, like your plug in the wall kind of power, and you got DC, which is on the solar side. So you get two EMP shields on it to cover both ends of the solar generator.
Yeah, it's going to be completely safe against EMP or a CME from the sun. So again, go check it out, or power surges. So everything there, it's going to be surge protected. I mean, way, way past anything you would need for a regular surge protector. That's for sure. It's a surge protector on crack. And I know are they okay with us saying that? Because I literally love that. It is literally a surge protector on crack. Just like all hyped up, scratching its neck like, I need power. It is awesome. If they don't like us saying that, I'm sorry.
I think it's okay. I mean, the thing can take a direct hit from lightning and save everything on the other end of your power. So, yeah.
That is awesome. Canadian soldiers charge over plot to seize. Oh, and update, I will get my seat WD-40'd. I actually went to go buy a WD-40 yesterday. I know that you guys occasionally hear that squeak, and for those that are sound sensitive, it annoys you. I am sorry. I was trying to fix the mouse and the seat. The mouse, I sprayed WD-40 all over. All it did was cause a mess. But the chair, again, I ran out of the WD-40 to fix the mouse, and I have to go get more. I put duct tape over the mouse, but apparently it wouldn't move. And yeah, so I'll fix that very soon. And then Canadian soldiers charged over plot. This is another part of the message. Please remember this one. This is something where these are the stories you need to remember. Canadian soldiers charged over plot to seize part of Quebec. Now, I want to point out something, because this is a conversation I had with Grok. I even talked about like our own channel, and I was having an argument about just how there's metadata out there that it calls everything. And I'm not just talking about us. Everybody in our community has like bad metadata that says we're this or that or fringe. Grok basically said, they cherry pick information to share our narrative, right? That we're going to avoid this story and give you this story that's going to show you the end of the world. I don't believe we do so. Not only do we show you both sides, we try to do a fair view. We do have opinions. We're humans. But we ask all of the questions, right? How could it be cherry picked when today the story about Britain comes out, the story about that comes out, the story about Canadian soldiers charged over a plot to seize a part of Quebec? Do you not see the picture that's being painted? This isn't cherry picking. This is common sense. And I've been pointing this out to you guys, and I'm sure you've learned it by now, and you probably taught me, right? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. In a day of news, when you have 4 totally unrelated stories that are completely related, why does that happen every single day? When you're like, oh, that's this and that's that. Because they're related in the fashion that America's involved, or our business deals are involved, or our corporations are involved, and something is shifting. So, oh, this is totally unrelated. This is being sold. But this big colored rock is going to go buy all of it up. That is related. We just gave them this so they would have extra money. They moved the extra money over here. They put them extra money and bought a chunk of a country. It's all related. So I got kind of perturbed, and then they actually stuck up for us. And the reason I was reminded of this, somebody says listening to Grok in conspiracy mode is like watching InfoWars. And I was thinking that was what the version I was talking to, and it totally put us down and then lifted us up again. I'm like, how do you do that? And the reason it put us down is because metadata that was attached from that 4 years of the shunning. That's the nickname I'm going to call that 4 years, is the YouTube shunning. But Dex, do you want to talk about what happened here and why this fits? Why is all this happening?
So 2 members of the Canadian Armed Forces have been charged for alleged involvement in a plot to form an anti-government militia and forcibly take land in Quebec. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, arrested 4 people in total and said that 3 of the suspects had taken concrete actions to facilitate terrorist activities. In a statement, the force said that the 3 accused were planning to create an anti-government militia. To achieve this, they took part in the military-style training, as well as shooting, ambush, survival, and navigation exercises. They also conducted a scouting operation. The group was allegedly using a variety of weapons, some prohibited, as well as high-capacity magazines and tactical equipment such as grenades and night vision goggles. Court documents said that the training reportedly took place between June 2021 and January of 2024 in Quebec City and Montreal, as well as Ralphton and Pointe in Ontario. So, of course, they parade out the large number of seized weapons and things like that to add validity to their claims. But yeah, it's a very interesting narrative. It's one that we've heard before here in America too.
Well, in America, this is like somebody's junk drawer. This was gonna seize the yeah. This is like under the pillow of like 4 Texans. But I'm just saying, those are but at the same point, look at what's the image that's being put out right now. Because understand that stories like this can wait. They can say, hey, we're going to wait 3 days to release this information. We can, we're not going to put anything out until we have the full answer. They put out press releases. We're going to put out this information today, this information. You don't think it's all connected? The same media, the big, huge one that every country reads, that puts out all 3 of these in the same day to the whole world. It gets pushed. It's like, oh, what's the script for today? Whoosh. And I'm not saying that all of it's fake. I mean, there's real news there, but there's real news. It's like they put a slow ball or spitball. They change the course of the baseball. That was, I think that was a pretty good analogy. That was pretty good. Echo for exaggeration. And then Tucker Carlson says it's obvious why Pam Bondi is covering up the EpiPen thing. And so I do understand this. Because Dex and I were talking about this, and Dex, I almost think we should have kind of a mini conversation about this. So this is, I needed to see the devil's advocate section of this. Dex, do you want to explain the devil's advocate part of this? Because
Well,
I don't think I did a very good job on the smaller video on this.
yeah. So I mean, like, I'm not taking Tucker's position here or anything like that. It's just one of many potential explanations. Like nobody knows the truth because nobody's been told what the hell's going on in the White House or in the DOJ as it relates to this. But everybody's got an opinion on it. Now, there's two obvious things or there seems to be two strong opinions you could take. One, you could say, well, Trump's on the list, so he doesn't want his name out there. That's easy to take that position. And then a lot of people just run with it and they think that's the reason why why they're covering it up. The other position is one that Tucker, and he's not the only one, he just happens to be the one that is mentioned in this article. There's plenty of other people that are holding this position, is saying, hey, EpiPen was actually an agent and there's even some speculating that there's a lot of ties to the agency, whether it's the CIA or the Mossad or both, that he was working for to help them and help them, gain influence over people. Obviously in the ways that we all know that he was good at, which is, the bad stuff. So the idea here is that, well, maybe there's so much value in the leverage that is being held over people from our three-letter agencies or from Mossad that there is enough influence to say, administration, you have to squash this. It can't come out. Even though you may have campaigned on it and said you were going to do it, the fact that I gave the example, maybe there's a guy in Russia that it gives them all sorts of information when he gets his hands on it. And it's not just some guy, it's some high level official, but they've got him, in the bed and in all sorts of tawdry positions that he'd never want released. Right. And so if all of that was released, they would lose all of those valuable assets, as they call them in the agency. So if they lose those assets, is that a greater loss to the influence and control and the insight and everything they gain around the world in geopolitical spectrum? And that's, part of what Tucker was saying here is it'll uncover the fact that EpiPen was working for and with either both Mossad or the CIA or both, as well as it could probably just completely unravel the influence that those agencies hold over a significant number of assets across the world. So it's an interesting perspective, and it's very logical when you think about what are the scenarios, because if there's an idea that Trump's not on it, and that isn't the reason, then what is the reason why they're covering it up? It's got to be something significant. So, and then the other logic that a lot of people hold is if Trump was on it, they would have pulled the pieces, cherry picked what they needed to last year or last term, and ran Trump's name through the mud as much as they possibly could. If it was something that he was involved in with EpiPen, that's greater than the involvement that's already been made public.
Yeah, and seeing the other part of this, like, so say they do release it, it's like you then release it and then redact some of the names because you still have control over that part of the country, or you still have that person under your finger. Then all of the media is going to scream, you still have redacted. Who's the redacted? Well, if you then let that out, you then throw that away. I see the devil's advocate argument over it. I guess I saw it from a different light after even just talking about it. I do want to point out, so don't address it. I do like addressing this kind of thing. So somebody says, Adam's the agent. I can't screen this enough. And I'm not trying to put shade on anybody else. But when I see that, we went through the 4 years of the shunning, right? If we were to all of a sudden to lose all of the recommendations, to lose all of that stuff, to lose our Discord, to do all of that, and then to see a channel that is connected to, legacy media that has potential motive to have like an in from the government to skyrocket to 3-4 million subscribers in like a year and a half, and to be able to talk about all of the banned subject specifically in the actual TOS and people don't question it, and it all looks like a regular news show. I'm like, again, I ask you guys to be critical. I would love, I used to say this, especially back then, it's like, my kids would probably appreciate me more if I was a secret agent. We did some really funny intros. I kind of miss, me and Dex used to do these like fake satire, like secret agent intros back in the day. If some of you guys may have been there for that, but it's like, you don't see that. If they're able to go and just skyrocket to the top and reach everybody and is served to everybody, that you should ask questions, okay? And people don't. When you have where we have it's just a stall, right? And we still keep battling. So I hope that I wish I could pick that and just put a seed in your brain and go, dude, really think about it, because you would be much stronger ally than enemy. Like you're screaming up against the mountain, and then our crew here and all of our people that have been here coming for 6-7 years, they've heard all of the negative stuff. People can come in and pop in and say, he's an agent, he's an FBI, wake up everybody. They're gonna be here tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So it doesn't hurt. What does hurt is that we lost somebody. Like, you should be with us. Why does our community focus so much on going, this is this and this, when we should be looking up? Like, I never understood that. Why are we not battling above our, above us? Why aren't we teaming up instead of fighting each other? What is the goal? You're not changing the world by, even if you took us out, you're not changing the world. We don't reach the world. I mean, we reach people all over the world, but we don't reach the world. The ones that are reaching 10 million a day, those are reaching the world. The people that are doing like real, like horrible stuff, and you focus on somebody that you just disagree with. That's what I don't understand. And what it really stems from, and what I've found most likely, and Dex, I think you would agree, it's one way or another. If you're on daily, you share your opinion about 1 out of 10,000 subjects, and it's something that person's never going to budge on. When they disagree about that thing, they're just not going to like you. Especially in this client, I mean, like we've been talking about with the president, now that Elon is against the president, people have now fallen back into his good grace because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think people have taken that upon themselves. If the president said that he believes that, all children should get college for free, people go, no, college for free, that's horrible. Even though they would scream it for 4 years like, we need this, the second he says it, they're going to flip-flop because they cannot agree with the guy they hate. And sometimes it's hate just because they don't like the sound of my voice, they don't like the look of me, it's whatever. But we need to transgress past
people,
that.
Well, as far as people making comments like that, sometimes it's just people trying to rile up the host, and especially when the person making the comment has never made a comment on the show before in the history of
I know you say that too, but what if it's not? Okay, what if it's not? Because it could be a guy, one of those cell phone farms in China. We got to add this in.
Same thing.
We're not on Rumble right now. We're not on Twitter and all that because Restream just stopped working for us. We tested it everywhere else. My friend tested down the street. My friend tested in this house with his account. Worked fine. We went all the way through the support of Restream. Just tell them one more time what Restream asked us to download onto our computer. Just a brief.
They wanted us to install software that they had written that was not beta tested or fully functional or released publicly. It was private software, and it was software that would that our antivirus systems would have barked at and said, hey, you shouldn't be putting this on because it meets none of the security criteria, nor has it been tested and validated. So yeah, it was pretty spooky to do.
Did we save that, by the way? And by the way, it is a company that is owned and run out of the country that we have recognized, right? And the other country we've criticized, we know for a fact that they have a really big budget for just, quelling dissent. And that kind of scares me. Like, they care about us. Like, that's nuts. So I do, but it does work though. Somebody does come screaming in there. 1 out of 100 will go, yeah, he's right. I think he's an agent now. And it gets them over to that camp. But if you've gone down that road, it's just a rotating circle of BS. It's like, if you don't agree with me, don't agree with me and don't watch.
It's always somebody that has no history in the channel, right? But but which leads me to believe it's, a bot or something from, like you said, like that.
Why would bots care about us though? That's the scary part. Like, why? That's the scary part. Why China Candace, but I do kind of understand. Candace was saying like that the French president, that the White House personally called her and said, hey, can you stop talking about the French president and his wife? She goes, I don't know why they want a little creator to stop. She's not a little creator. She started rumors that are now worldwide. So she's kind of being humble there. Because whatever rumors, whether they're true or false, they're now out there in the zeitgeist. They are all over the internet because the internet can get everywhere. So I do understand the power in that. But the power is only in that if you guys share it out. Understand that, because there's a wall for us. That wall, you guys can throw us over that. You guys can make us more powerful. It's a viewer powered channel. You can bring us the videos. You can bring us. We the thing is, we're on a tight budget now, but we opened up the tip line. We opened up to upload videos. We did all sorts of stuff to try to get it to where you guys could be more a part of it. So please utilize the stuff that we put in there. And we've archived the news for years now. So other creators and other even people in my seat can use it. And I don't think people understand that. Inquiring minds. You are not my enemy. You are my friend. Well, we need to find an enemy because then, no. Because then, it would just be our enemy. Okay. But what if we find a friend and then their enemy and then we make enemies with that guy? Then we'll all have something in common. And that was the thing. They said misery loves company. That's the other thing is, say the one is a bot, but then that bot grabs 3 real people. People are attracted to the negativity. They're attracted to the drama. And there are people that are just attracted to drama. And it's pretty sad. Because they are, some of those people, they would be very, very good people. They are very driven and they could literally do so much good. My Patriot Supply, if you haven't checked them out, again, nobody likes affiliates. But as far as if you are out there prepping and if you're getting freeze-dried food, I think everybody should have. The reason I think everybody should have freeze-dried food is a horror story from me. I'll take a video and post it on Twitter. We're throwing away like probably 1/4 ton of food because we didn't rotate it properly. We had rice, we had all these things in bins. We have shelves and shelves of food, and it's not even like past expiration. We're like, it's still good. It's past where we cannot eat it. Whereas freeze-dried food, it takes 25 years to get to that point, and probably some would argue longer, right? So freeze-dried food is an awesome thing to have because it's going to last 25 years. Some might say it's better within 20, but you really don't have to worry about it for a while. It is space efficient. And again, this is one of the most affordable ways to do it. If you've seen like single meals at Walmart, you don't want to buy them like that. I know somebody that it does work out for them because they only spend $15 a week and they buy one every week and they do it with their limited budget. That's fine too. But understand there's websites and there's places like this where you could do that too and spend a smaller amount and get one thing of this. This is like, I compare it like Costco. The more you get from these guys, the better deal you're going to get. Now, are there other companies? Yeah. And we've even affiliated for them and we have recommendations. Like if you are picky, we have other options. This is affordable and this will, you will survive. This is an incredible company for affordability and for bulk deals. So again, you always have a 3-month deal. They always have a month deal, depending on when you watch this. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. And also go check out the other stuff they have on there. Alexa Pure, the water filtration system. That is a definite, if you think your Brita is going to cut it long term, I would highly recommend to check that. It does it very fast and it purifies 99.9. Basically, I mean, you've heard the whole same spiel from most water purifiers. It does all the same stuff that the big names do at a fraction of the cost. marfooglenews.com/prep. All right. Let's see here. And thank you, Machina Opus, member for 25 months. Thank you, Machina Opus. Prepperman, thanks for the jams. Thanks for all you do. Much love, Dex Mods fam. Thank you, Solomon. 321 Marfoogle TV. We love your work. You and Dex are agents, all right. You are agents of good. Keep up the good work. We appreciate you. I almost want to do our funny intros again. Like I'm tired of I'm just tired of I'm tired of not we gotta live it up, guys, because honestly, I think there's a lot of bad stuff there, but we also have to remember we are blessed every day when we wake up. And even if it's hard to see right now, I've been in the spots where it's hard to see where anything can be good. I know that there's a lot of folks in our audience where you might be living in a car, you might be living in an alley. There might not be much to look up to, but just so you know, I've literally been there. My mom was there for 5 years, homeless. There is things past that. There's good things no matter what. And if you can find the mindset to think about that, that is where it really gets awesome. And then High Tech Computers, thanks Marf, Dex Mods, and friends. Thank you, Ewok Jerky. Thank you, Samuel Turner. Thank you, Stephanie Cook. Death Gaming, member for 19 months. Thanks for all that you, Dex, and the mods do. Thank you. Rip Curl Readiness, member for 14 months. You all rock. Thanks for being here. Just want to remind people, Rip Curl has been here for ever. Longer than 14 months. That's his member. He's been a mod for like 5 or 6 years or something. Awesome guy. Go check out his channel on marfooglenews.com/friends. Bobby Sue for 12 months. That's crazy. Rip Curl and Bobby Sue hitting anniversaries the same day. Thanks for the HBD jams, Marf. Listen today. Oh, please don't listen to the middle. Maybe the end and maybe the beginning. I was off on just trying to get this song out of my head. But thank you guys for joining me for those, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Dex, I appreciate your service today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Love you guys. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. Stephanie Cook, I almost missed you. Woohoo with the best news channel ever. 2 years, 24 months. That is awesome. Thank you, Inquiring Minds. And I'll try to figure out. I believe I have the top supporter, but over on Jams, I will let you guys know. Thank you, and thank you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Is now time for the outro. It's not a outro, it's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.